our Indian myopia hero. That's how I want to call Rohit. Dr. Rohit Saxena, professor, RP Center. And he is going to talk about here is my patient using the eye atom to guide stepwise approach to your patient with myopia. Over to you.
Uh, Thank you, Dr. Meenakshi. My slide is visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. And of course, this discussion, which is rather important. I'll see if I can hide this, but I don't think I can. Anyway, so as Dr. Meenakshi said, this was about iAtom I'll be talking about, and of course, how we can incorporate what we've learned from the iAtom into our routine practice. The iAtom was the study which we conducted here, and thank you, Dr. Meenakshi, Shankar Netrale, Narayan Netrale, and Dr. Lipika also, who contributed to this study. It was a multicentric trial in which we had used low-dose atropine 0.01% to evaluate the effect on myopia progression in a randomized control group between the drug and a placebo, and we had about 100 patients. And we realized that just like the atom and the lamp, it was a pretty effective drug in the Indian population versus placebo. We found a 54% reduction in the mean spherical equivalent progression and a 21% reduction in the mean axial length reduction. Although the axial length reduction did not reach statistical significance, but there was definitely a little reduction as compared to the placebo group. So while one would say that the key intervention or the key desire for any myopia prevention should be axial length, preventing axial length elongation, and not so much worry about the spherical equivalent progression. But we do see that that is a problem that is being observed world over in any study done anywhere on the 0.01%. And as time goes by, probably we'll get a better dosage ethnic wise. So what was our patient selection and how these results are applicable to your clinical practice? So this would be applicable to this patient selection that we have used these results. However, we expect that these results should be applicable to patients outside this also, provided they fall into that same broad window which we have included the patients. And so 6 to 14-year-old children who showed a myopic progression of 0.5 diopters per year in the preceding 1 year. So at least 0.5 diopter progression of myopia in the past 1 year, they got included, and that one would say is ideally the inclusion criteria that you should consider if you start any form of myopia intervention. We used a spherical refractive error of -1 to -6 diopters, a low astigmatism of 0.15, and anisometropia of 1 diopter. Best corrected visual acuity better than 612, and no other ocular pathology. Of course, before we enrolled and we started, patient and parent awareness about the risks of myopia were important. We helped them to understand the risk profile, particularly parents being myopic. So both parents being myopic, 3 times the risk that the child will become myopic and progress. Inform alternatives or ways to avoid the risks that are there, that are avoidable, that were talked so nicely by Dr. Shruti. Inform about the expected efficacy and potential benefits of treatment, the risks and the possible side effects. And of course, the long-term results are as of now not available, but we hope that with time they would be available for the Indian population. So history, basic ocular examination, if everything normal, a cycloplegic refraction to the axial length, other ocular parameters, and then if willing enroll into the myopia treatment program. So we asked the other questions that were required to know were: when were the first time the child used glasses? How frequently has she required to change them? Any eye-related complaints? History of ocular or general health, parental history of myopia, about their onset, about their progression, any other myopia control treatment, particularly yoga and other methods that are prevalent have been reported by some patients, known allergy to atropine or any drug, and of course, details about the child's screen work and the visual environment the child is in. The basic ocular examination included visual acuity, ETDRS, but of course, on a routine, you could probably just follow up with Snellen's, distant corrected visual acuity, pupillary examination, slit lamp for anterior segment health, intraocular pressure, and fundus examination, particularly the center and periphery, provided the child is willing and comfortable. A cycloplegic refraction, we used homide oblique tropicamide. Anything is doable, whatever is preferred in your clinical practice. If you use the autoref, use at least 3 readings and take a median. And of course, preferably to use an objective refraction in the way of retinoscopy and do a subjective refraction. The refraction methods should be repeatable across time. The patients should be prescribed spectacles based on the current refraction, and the tendency to undercorrect, to give less than what they require, should actually definitely be avoided. And of course, keep a document of the previous power of glasses that the child had or has been using. Measure other ocular parameters. The key parameter to measure is axial length, which was unfortunately missed in many previous studies and works that have been done. So now, even in clinical practice, because the key outcome measure that one should actually look for or hope for is reduction in the axial length elongation. So axial length measurement using ultrasound biometry or an optical biometer, IOLMaster or LensStar, is not only now, one would say, optimal, but probably an essential part of myopia workup. Measure the amplitude of accommodation, also do a pupillometry, the baseline pupillometry, and the effect after when you start the drug. So we advised full-time use of corrected glasses. 0.01 atropine in the study, we advised bedtime, although some studies have talked about a morning use. But clinically, it of course is your decision where you prefer it. As of now, there is equivocal evidence of either. Monitor and report any adverse effects. Have a place where an emergency reporting can be possible. Encourage to develop healthy visual habits like spending time outdoors, reduce near demand. And of course, our first advice was to follow up after 2 weeks, and we feel that that may be an important follow-up because of picking up on adverse effects. In fact, we had one child in our center who actually lost the bottle we gave them and bought a drug from outside and actually got 1% atropine. And 2 weeks later, the child came limbus to limbus dilated. And we were very surprised. This was in the initial period of the study, and I was surprised at how 0.01 could have such an effect. But on examination, we realized. So it's important to establish the side effects, also a second baseline, because there may be a slight change in the refractive error because of the atropine. So studies have shown that there may be a slight change in the baseline of the refractive error, so that when you're following up, you need to adjust for that second baseline. Of course, intraocular pressure, just to make sure that there is no increase in intraocular pressure. And of course, subsequent follow-ups can depend upon your clinical practice. This was our follow-up up to 1 year in our study, and subsequently we're following up at half-yearly intervals. But this 2-month follow-up can be avoided in clinical practice. So a baseline examination may do a complete examination. At 2 weeks, you do the visual acuity assessment and intraocular assessment and see for any side effects that may not be there. The 2-month, like I said, may be optional in your clinical practice. At 6 months, you need to see them once. And then at 1 year, again, at 1 year, you need to see the child and see how much impact the drug has made, because this is a time when decision can be made whether this child is a good responder, an average responder, or a poor responder, because it may affect your long-term or your planning for the subsequent treatment. If the child appears to be doing well, you can continue the treatment and follow up again after 6 months and then after 2 years. The aim of the study was to stop atropine at 2 years and then follow up for a washout period. Again, the importance to see the child at 2 years, again, to assess the efficacy of the treatment that you have given. Take a call in discussion with the parents about weaning off or slowly stopping the child from atropine. But the key is to ask them to continue follow-up because you want to pick up for the rebound phenomena. So these are our planned investigation in the children, but like I said, in a clinical practice, you could see differently. In terms of myopia progression, change in spherical equivalent is important, but change in axial length is Also extremely important, take a decision on management, and of course look for change in other parameters if you can, particularly pupil size and amplitude of accommodation. Treatment can be stopped or changed if the progression is not sufficiently controlled, there is poor tolerance, or compliance or safety issues are an issue. A washout after you stop the atropine, a 3-month follow-up period visit is important so that you can again record how the child is doing, how the parameters are there, and of course to discuss that the child continues to follow up and make sure that there is no rebound in these children. So it's important to have a good patient selection, educate and communicate with the patient parents about the benefits and the risk of any myopia control program that you enroll the child in, perform basic examination, cycloplegic refractive length, and if found fit, prescribe atropine drops at the low dose, maintain and follow up at the scheduled time, and analyze change in refractive error and axial length to plan for clinical management. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Doctor. Dr. Meenakshi.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rohit. I think every word you uttered was so important in managing these patients. And I know it's a continuous learning process, and we need to be changing our strategies and tweaking things as we go along. But it's very important to have some standard of care as well. And I think you very beautifully summarized. Wonderful. So I think